Welcome to this explainer. If you've ever struggled to make your characters sound believable, or maybe you found your conversations just kind of falling flat on the page, well, you are in exactly the right place. Today we're taking a journey from the very basic, hard and fast formatting rules of dialogue writing all the way up to a masterclass in advanced linguistic techniques. By the end of this, you'll see exactly how the pros craft conversations that grip readers and literally refuse to let go. So let's dive right into this.
Listen to this exchange for a second. "Hey, Mary," John said. "Oh, hi, how are you?" "I'm good, how are you doing?" "Fine, good. A little tired, but who isn't?" Now, I just put a ton of dramatic enthusiasm into reading that out loud, but let's drop the act for a minute. Think about that exchange. It is incredibly dull, it's totally purposeless, it just sits there, taking up space and putting us right to sleep.
So why is a conversation like that so boring to read? I want to challenge you to think about what's actually missing there. I mean, it sounds exactly like a real conversation you might overhear at the grocery store, right? But you see, that is precisely the problem. Writing dialogue requires much more than just mimicking real-world small talk. Real-world small talk is just filler. And in writing, we literally cannot afford filler.
All right, Section 1, the anatomy of dialogue, purpose and definition.
To fix bad dialogue, we first have to understand what it actually is and the heavy lifting it needs to do on your page. Fundamentally, there are two types of dialogue. You've got outer dialogue, which is the spoken conversation between two or more people. This is the stuff that gets tucked inside quotation marks. But we also have inner dialogue, which is the character's internal thoughts or an inner monologue. And what's really interesting here is that inner dialogue doesn't usually require quotation marks. It often just blends right into the narrative or uses italics. Both are super powerful tools, but they definitely operate differently.
So here's the absolute crucial point. Every single line of outer dialogue you write must serve at least one of four critical purposes. It has to advance the plot, reveal character, show conflict or tension, or provide important background information. If a character is speaking and it doesn't do at least one of these four things, it is dead weight. You have to cut it. That "Hi, how are you" exchange we just looked at, it accomplished absolutely none of this.
Moving on to Section 2, Formatting and Mechanics, the foundational rules. Before we can get wildly creative and stylized with our words, we absolutely have to master the hard and fast mechanics. If your formatting is wrong, your reader is going to be pulled right out of the story. Let's walk through some of the most common formatting errors because these trip up so many writers. Take comma placement, for example. The comma always goes inside the quotation marks before the speaker tag. Also, notice that the pronoun in a speaker tag isn't capitalized unless it's a proper noun, it's still just part of the sentence. And here's a really big one. Humans cannot physically laugh or sigh a word. You can say a word and then laugh, sure, but you cannot laugh a word. So, "she laughed" needs to be its own separate sentence entirely.
Now, if you're ever feeling overwhelmed by all this, here is a brilliant four-step strategy derived directly from English exam prep materials. Step 1, read and truly understand the situation. Step 2, plan who is speaking and what they actually want to achieve. Step 3, write short, logical, connected exchanges. And Step 4, check your grammar and your relevance. Doing this ensures you fully grasp the context and purpose before you ever type a single quotation mark.
Okay, Section 3, Common Dialogue Mistakes. Navigating conflicting advice.
Now that we've got the rigid formatting down, let's explore some common mistakes. Stylistic advice can sometimes be a bit, contradictory across different sources, which forces you, the writer, to make very deliberate choices about how you want your characters to sound. Remember our boring grocery store conversation? This perfectly illustrates why good dialogue isn't real speech. Real speech is filled with ums, uhs, false starts, and just mind-numbing repetition. Instead, you need what experts call selective speech. This is highly curated, intelligent language that merely gives the illusion of real speech. It sounds perfectly realistic to the reader's ear, but all that tedious, boring filler has been surgically removed.
Oh, and here is another massive trap: I dialect. This is when writers spell words phonetically to force an accent, like writing W-U-Z instead of was, or dropping the G on every single ing verb. I highly advise you to avoid going overboard with this. Overusing I dialect can very quickly create offensive caricatures, and at best, it just makes your text incredibly exhausting and annoying for your audience to decode. Trust your readers. You can convey accents through word choice and sentence structure instead of completely butchering the spelling.
Next up, Section 4, Showing instead of telling, action beats and tags. Let's move into some more advanced techniques by looking at the tension between using simple dialogue tags and utilizing action beats. This is where your characters really start to jump off the page. Think about how action beats can replace standard dialogue tags. In one approach, we might tell the reader how a character feels using an adverb, like saying, "Emily said stonily." But in another approach, we replace the adverb and the word said entirely with a physical action beat. Emily folded her arms. Boom. While some experts strictly endorse only ever using the tags said and asked, replacing those tags with physical action beats is an incredibly powerful way to actually show emotion rather than just spoon-feeding it to the reader.
Let's look at another example. Picture this. Jake just got caught in an affair at a restaurant, and his partner just walked out on him. If we write, "Jake said disgustedly, I guess I'll pay for the meal." Well, that's weak. It relies on an adverb, and it's way too on the nose. Now think about a stronger metaphor. Jake reaches for his wallet to pay for this mess. By replacing the weak dialogue tag with this action beat, we add massive subtext. The reader immediately understands he isn't just paying for his dinner, he is paying for the absolute mess he made of his life.
All right, Section 5, Pragmatics and Character Voice, Social and Cognitive Contexts. To really elevate our understanding of voice, we need to look at a linguistic concept called pragmatic adaptation. Essentially, it just means that characters, exactly like real people, continuously alter their vocabulary and their sentence structure based entirely on who they are talking to, where they are, and what they desperately want. A character is going to speak very differently to a police officer than they will to their best friend, right?
You can absolutely use this adaptation to your advantage. If you want to show cold rigidity or emotional distance, have a character use highly formal words. In classic literature, like Hawthorne's The Birthmark, a scientist uses grand formal language when talking to his wife about an experiment, showing that he values his work way over her humanity. Alternatively, you can use vague words like so, quite, or thing to show a character who exaggerates or lacks substance, kind of like the gossiping Mrs. Bennet in Pride and Prejudice. Every single word choice reveals their psychology.
Characters also adapt through perspective-taking and turn-taking. For instance, a character might suddenly switch from French to simple English just to gain a suspect's trust. Or consider turn-taking. If one character aggressively interrupts another mid-sentence, they are seizing power in that negotiation. It's not just about what they say, it's how and when they forcefully carve their way into the conversation.
And finally, Section 6, the final polish, bringing it all together.
We've covered mechanics, action beats, subtext, and pragmatic adaptation. Now, let's guide you into the final stage of the process to ensure your newly crafted dialogue is absolutely ready for the reader. If you remember nothing else from today, write this down. Simple English plus correct English equals better dialogue. Do not try to impress the reader with unnecessarily complicated prose or massive convoluted sentences inside your quotation marks. Clarity and simplicity should always win.
And here is perhaps the most practical editing tip of all, sourced straight from the experts. The absolute easiest way to see if your dialogue sounds realistic is to physically read it out loud. Seriously, sit in your room and speak the lines. It is amazing how dialogue that looks perfectly fine on a computer screen will suddenly sound awkward, stilted, or totally ridiculous the very second it hits the air. I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Pull out your phone right now and look at your last 5 text messages. If you copied and pasted them directly into a novel, would they advance the plot, reveal character, and create tension, or would they put your reader right to sleep? Armed with these new analytical skills, I hope you never look at a conversation, whether it's on the page or in real life, the same way ever again. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and happy writing!